like there's a lot of adversities that happen. Most agencies struggle in getting new clients. Ton of agencies struggle in keeping the clients. They hear a lot of different voices about this model, that model. Like where should a new person start? Because there's a lot of noise, which unfortunately that's a reality of the space, right? You got your crypto bros, your SaaS bros, your real estate bros, your agency bros, all these bros that are just like a lot of voices, right? How do you create a clarity around what you should do in the middle of adversity as an agency owner starting out?
Yep. So I love this question, and I think it's critical for people to, think about what we're about to discuss here. And first and foremost, choose a model and go all in. Just, you have to ignore everything else. And I know that that is difficult. I get it, right? You didn't mention the affiliate marketing bros, or the e-commerce bros, or the, ATM machine bros. You know what I mean?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to come to you on another amazing high-level podcast with none other than Nik Robbins. If you don't know who Nik Robbins is, this guy is an OG. He's a legend in the space of marketing. When I first started off in 2014, that range in the Billie Jean groups and a couple of other big Sam Ovens groups, Nik was already well past almost everybody. He was the top student at the time. He was the guy that was already crushing all the case studies back then. And he's someone that a lot of us have taken his business models and built around it and built similar things around it. So Nik, it's always an honor to talk to what I would call a friend, as well as a mentor, as well as someone who has quite the impact in the marketing space. So welcome.
Man, what an introduction. I appreciate it, man. But it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm so excited. I love what you guys have done. I still remember when this was in infancy, talking with Robin before it literally even got launched, and what you guys have done is nothing short of incredible. So happy to be here and super excited to share some amazing stuff with the community.
Yeah, and those of you that are watching, if this is probably maybe one of your first episode, we do hundreds of these all the time over a span of several months between myself and Chase Buckner. There's replays in the YouTube channel. You can watch this on a podcast style in Spotify, iTunes, wherever. And if you're not someone who has high level, take a look at one of the trials and see if it makes sense for you. If not, no worries. We just want to at least tell you there is a way to consolidate all your agency activities into one big centralized, all-in-one operating platform. But either way, in these podcast sessions, we kind of go unscripted, talk about things that really matter in an agency life. This entrepreneurship is, quite isolated quite some time, and scaling is pretty hard as well. It's not easy. And Nik, I know you've been through some recent adversities with your family and things like that. Let's just open up with, how do you deal with tough situations? Because to me, a character is built when there's adversity. And right now, your characters and Sema as well, like y'all's business characters is being built into a whole new 2.0 version of a mindset. Can you share how you deal with your scenarios?
Absolutely. I'll start at the macro level and frames for people to think through. And what it really comes down to is our relationship with problems, right? How you define a problem, the level of urgency you put behind a problem, how big you make a problem seem, how you react to a problem is going to have a direct correlation to how strong you are as an entrepreneur and your outcomes in life. Because I got news for you guys, right? Problems are a sign of being live, right? The problem is never the problem. The problem is your attitude about the problem, right? Because every single day, your job is to put out fires and literally to solve problems. That's the only reason that we would go high level, build an agency or build a business, is to solve problems. So it starts with that, our framing. What happens? How do you react when something does not go your way? And I got news for you guys. Right. We've all heard that in life, there's only two things you can count on, and that's death and taxes. I'm going to add a third thing in there, and that is that things will not go according to the plan. So what do you do when that takes place? Right. And to give a little bit of context, I'll just share it, Paulson, because I think it's powerful for the community. My wife, 5 months ago now, 5 months ago, was diagnosed with cancer, right? Kind of out of the blue. She's 31 years old, super healthy, in shape, fit, did not see it coming. And through that period, we had a choice to make, and she had a choice to make, and kudos to her for not playing the victim card, right? And not being like, oh, woe was me. Of course we had some moments like that, right? But it really came down to, an event takes place, how are we going to respond to the event? And she's chosen, I've chosen to double down on our mental health, on our physical health, on our business health. We've launched an entirely new business through this time period. She's in amazing shape. She's kicking cancer's ass. I'm happy to support. And so it really comes down to, how do you view the problem when there's one that comes in front of you, right? And I got one more thing I'll share on this. I know I'm speaking a lot. I'm so passionate about this because this has such a direct correlation to where you go. And that is this: you and I, Paulson, we don't experience reality. We experience our interpretation of reality, right? All events are neutral. And so the story and the meaning that you create behind the event that takes place is going to dictate your actions, which is going to lead to your outcomes. And so how do we create those into positive stories?
Yeah, I think the important thing here that everyone should take away from is obviously your perspective of your own attitude towards the problem, right?
Mhm.
And it takes a little bit of experience to go through some of these things. You know, you have to fail in certain areas to kind of grow some thick skin about certain things. Like I've had some pretty tragic family events that happened to me at a young age, and you know, it takes a certain person to just get up and keep going and not be the victim
Mhm.
and not look for a pat on the back. Oh, you did good dealing with the scenario. It's not even about that. It's about, can you create a new version of yourself? So with that in mind, Nick, let's go through the agency space, right? Like there's a lot of adversities that happen. Most agencies struggle in getting new clients. Ton of agencies struggle in keeping the clients. They
Mhm.
hear a lot of different voices about this model, that model. Like where should a new person start? Because there's a lot of noise, which unfortunately that's the reality of the space, right? You got your crypto bros, your SaaS bros, your real estate bros, your agency bros, all these bros that are just like a lot of voices, right?
Mhm.
How do you create a clarity around what you should do in the middle of adversity as an agency owner starting out?
Yep. So I love this question, and I think it's critical for people to, think about what we're about to discuss here. And first and foremost, choose a model and go all in. Just, you have to ignore everything else. And I know that that is difficult. I get it, right? You didn't mention the affiliate marketing bros, or the e-commerce bros, or the, ATM machine bros. You know what I mean? We can go on and on with that, right? And just remember, everyone who's placing an ad in front of you is doing it. They're trying to steal your attention. That's what's happening. So you've got to be able to commit something, go all in, and say, I'm going to make this work. If you are listening to this and you've been in the Go High Level community or around at any period of time, and you need more convincing to believe that this is a software that solves problems for businesses and works and people can build upon, then I'm not sure what to necessarily tell you. That's an internal thing, right? Because the proof is overwhelming. Me, myself, have ran over 500 clients through Go High Level. Like, so I know that we have, you know what I mean? So that's step one: commit and go all in, ignore everything else. One of the biggest detractors of success, especially in today's age, is the inability of most people to sit down and actually focus and stay committed to something, right? We're jumping around. Oh, if I didn't build a 7-figure business in 6 months, I'm quitting. It's like, get out of here, right? It took me 11 months to get a fucking appointment, dude. Like 11 months to get one appointment back. This was way before all this help. Now we've got all these tools and these resources. I didn't have Go High Level back then. We dreamed about it, right? We thought about something like this, and then you guys brought it to reality. So that's step one. Stay focused, stay committed, right? Because the model works. And step two, choose a niche, right? I'm very big on this. Okay. Choose a niche that you want to go after. There's multiple reasons for this. One, it allows you to prospect easier, right? It allows you to send cold emails. It allows you to choose your prospecting messaging and really dial something in. Two, you can then start to learn the problems within the niche, right? And then from there, you want to look at all of the different things that Go High Level can do, because it can solve many problems, right? But don't try and solve every problem at front if you're new. Choose one problem that you're going to solve. Maybe that's a database reactivation. Maybe it's a Google review campaign. Maybe it's a website chat. Maybe it's a website in general. Choose one problem for that niche. And then from there, you take it to the street, you go out prospect, and you go outbound in order to put this product in front of people who need the service.
Yeah,
And then from
absolutely.
there, yeah.
Yeah, and the reality is, um, sales is very difficult because it's a noisy marketplace. So you have to give yourself enough chances to have a clear offer for one specific avatar for one specific result. Now, over the years, I've been the same way with Nik, like, hey, niche down, niche down, niche down. And in the beginning, even if you don't niche down, but even if you just focus on like a local market, or like, hey, I'm just going to work with mom
That's
and
a
pop
niche.
shops, or I'm just going to do franchises, or I'm just going to do coach to consultants. You still need to narrow down your focus, even if you did multiple industries for a short amount of time. But in the long run, you need to have a stepping stone that your brand stands for. And if you don't have that, everybody will see you as a generalist. They don't see you as a specialist. And if you don't see yourself as a specialist and the market doesn't see that, you will have a hard time capturing the market share. So with that in mind, Nik, one of the things that I implemented recently is we do a 5-day challenge inside High Level now for brand new agencies who are struggling and they don't even have a single one or two couple of clients. We put them in a challenge to help them refocus with like a Trojan horse offer. What are your thoughts on having a Trojan horse offer in general?
I think that it's absolutely 100% the way to go to get started, right? Keep your offer simple. You need to be able to deliver it. You need to be able to go out and solve a problem, and you get your in with somebody. And then from there, you can scale up, expand services, and grow, right? You want to get trust first. What's the best way that you can prove and demonstrate that you can help someone? Actually help them, right? So if that's for a small fee, whatever it might be, there's different ways of doing it, whether it's a trial or a small fee or down. So there's so many different ways to construct it, right? But I think start small and then expand, especially if you aren't gifted in the ability to deliver the information and all the problems you solve. Because if you go in there and you try and do I'm going to put a course together, I'm going to do this, it's amazing everything you've got, but it can be very overwhelming. And if it's overwhelming for you to deliver, it's overwhelming for the client to hear.
100%. And I remember, I know you built your 7-figure agencies, I feel like multiple times. And I remember being part of your coaching programs as well. The Crusaders, if you guys don't know, a lot of the groups Nik runs, you need to check those out. But either way, like, I remember you early on having tactics, right? I remember you charging for your strategy sessions. I remember you taking a consultative approach. I remember you changing up different things. And the cool thing about all of that is agility and the way you adapted with the market. What are things that you see with SaaS today from old previous agency experience that you feel like it's the missing boat? Like, I know we talked about having a gap on the conversion opportunity during sales, right? Like, what are some thoughts there?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So the biggest thing by far, I've worked with over 850-ish, maybe 870, somewhere in that, over 800 medical practice. I don't know the exact number at this point. And the problem with 99.999999% of them is always lead management and lead conversion. So to me, that has been by far the biggest thing that I've utilized Go High Level for. And then when we got this, it was a complete game changer. It doubled our retention over the next year, and it massively increased our ability to sell and keep things in place, all that stuff. So the lead conversion, if you were watching this and you are new, just take it from me. I always say, borrow my confidence. I can assure you that if you get on a conversation with a local business owner and you talk to them about how they're handling their leads, I promise you that 1, they are lying, and 2, they suck. Right? There's a 99 point, and I say that with love. If they didn't suck, we wouldn't have an opportunity to solve this problem, right? So they're awful. And if you want proof of this, and this is something I recommend everyone do before, if they're taking sales calls over the phone, right? Opt into their website, build a fake Google Voice number, build a fake Gmail, opt in and see if they even call you. Get this, Paulson. One summer, we were just cranking. This was 2021. Big sales team. We were just cranking. And this is when we really went super deep on the high ticket SaaS model. I remember you probably remember that time. I'm like, dude, this is when we got hundreds of clients on there, right? Anyways, 1,000 phone calls we did an opt-in for, right? We did a fake secret shopper for. I had a sales coordinator at the time, and her job was to do that. 7.5 out of 10 never even called the lead. Out of 1,000, we had a giant sample size. 1 out of 10 called more than once. Wild stuff. And then 0.5 called within, after 24 hours, right? It's crazy, right? So you've got nothing to lose by opting in. Now, maybe they do call you. I don't know, right? But either way, if you opt in and you see that they haven't called, guess what happens when you get on the phone with them? You now have leverage. Great. What's your follow-up process look like? How many leads are converting? Oh, my staff is fantastic. They're the best. Oh, really? How come when I just put in an opt-in form, no one called me? What happened? I've done this over and over again. You want another great question too? This is, oh my God, there's so many things I love about high level for agency, but my favorite question, and I've hosted events for doctors. So like I've had doctors fly around the country and we've spoken with this, right? Between sales calls and events, probably asked to 100 plus doctors. When was the last time that you listened to your staff's phone calls? I had one person ever say he's listened to them within the last month. And that person wasn't a doctor. He was a business owner who happened to own a private practice. You know what I mean? So like, that's all leverage. Anyways, I could go so deep down the sales thing, but like, man, the lead conversion is such a giant opportunity. It's insane. And I haven't even got into the AI booking bots and some of the things I see coming down the pipe that way.
Yeah. So you do agree that leading with one, a Trojan
Yep.
horse, and landing and expanding is the way to go. And the
Correct.
reason why, guys and gals will tell you that is because if you lead with, like, let's say 3 or 4 different options or offers, you're going to confuse them and enter them naturally into 4 or 5 different sales cycles for 4 or 5 different decisions. And they don't really connect the difference between funnel versus automation versus web chat versus Google My Business versus DBRs and maybe Facebook ads. Like, even us as marketing professionals and automation experts, like, we can kind of connect it together. It still is not a close connection for someone who's already familiar. Imagine the small business owner who have no idea how automations work. Now, Nik, what are some actual strategies and offers that you recommend as a Trojan horse? I know you said lead nurturing, lead generation, follow-up process, things like that. But what are some things that you're seeing in the recent days that's working really well in certain spaces?
Yeah, the tried and true database reactivation is fantastic, right? That one works extraordinarily well to get people in the door. What we've done in the past, we didn't actually lead with database reactivations ourselves, but I've seen that work. But what we have led with is actually website chats on traffic, on highly trafficked websites. And all we've done is slap a website chat on there and then teach them how to use the conversations tab. Because back to what you were just saying, one thing we've got to understand when you're trying to sell a bunch of different services is the client adoption. And I've been screaming about this for years with Go High Level. My guys, like, you got to focus on client adoption. Like, I promise you, they're not going to get it, and it's going to take them a while to adopt it. You have to train them on it. You have to coach them on it. You have to tell them why, all that stuff. So actually just slapping website chat on their website has been fantastic, because if you have a remotely well-trafficked site, it's going to bring in free customers right away. You know what I mean? And we used to do that all the time with people.
Right. And then imagine going back and selling $2,000 or $3,000 worth of a package once you have that relationship. It's a
Yep.
different sale, right?
Completely different.
There's a know, like, and trust,
Yep.
that's already there and established, and now you can build on it. When it comes to, Nik, and I know this is something you and Sima and your team dealt with, right? There's a few of people that are watching this podcast that are a bit more established, right? Maybe they have a couple of hundred clients and they're trying to figure out how to infuse SaaS versus the traditional services they had. What does that
Yeah.
migration of the next chapter look like? What are some, tips that you may have? Because I know we dealt with several things with your team and things like that.
Yes. So there's a few different ways that I would look at this. So we basically structured different packages. So we had our high ticket SaaS package, which was basically managed Facebook ads plus funnel build outs, yada, yada, nurturing follow-ups, the whole 9 yards, plus, the plus Go High Level, of course, right? The other way that I would look at selling SaaS personally is coaching and consulting the client into the SaaS product as a backend. So you get an upfront fee, right, for some sort of 6-12 week program, in order to then basically like 5,000 upfront, 12 weeks, $297 a month. You get them to adopt the platform. That's another way of doing it. The third way is the $297 straight up webinar style process, right? And for us, we actually downsold a lot of our high ticket clients into that $297. And as we were getting ready, and I actually ended up kind of, selling and doing some different stuff, but as we were getting ready, and how I would sell the $297 is actually via a webinar. And I would basically have it be with that, the free trial, almost the same exact type of process, and like literally run it through there via a webinar. And then basically saying, hey, by the way, you can jump on a call here and we'll just sell you $247 a month over and over again. But basically have it pre-packaged, pre-ready to go, training programs, training protocols, how to use everything, white label, white glove support, all that type of stuff. So those are the 3 different ways that I like to think through it inside of my head.
Yeah, I love that because a lot of agencies don't know where to start. And
Mhm.
one of the things that I always warn people, especially established agencies, you don't have to take your existing clients and convert them into SaaS customers. It's
Mhm.
totally okay to start fresh with a new line, start
Mhm.
fresh with a new set of book of business, instead of trying to take existing customers who had a certain expectation. Now you're configuring them with a new offer, and it just kind of gets messy. What are your thoughts on that?
I could not agree more. They don't need to be forced over, right? Like at all. And so what you can do, and this is actually really what we ended up doing, because I never built the webinar for the 297 to try and just like spam them through. By spam, I mean like in bulk, right? Was we just had a package that we could offer to every single prospect we got on the phone with, right? We had the high ticket package, we had the mid ticket, we had the low ticket. Great. You want a database reactivation plus nurturing, 297 a month, right? We'll get started 297 right now. We'll get you going, right? And so we just had a downsell. And that's how we do it. Because here's the thing, like, it really depends on who you want to work with in your avatar. Because some clients at the high end in the agency world who are paying good money and they're big time clients, they can be amazing. Now they can also be complete yahoos and be the worst.
Yeah,
They can be
the ones
awful,
that
right?
call you at
But
10 p.m. at night.
the big thing is, if you have a situation where you can sell anybody you have on the phone with one of these types of packages, that would be the way I would go about it without question. And then what we would also do is when clients wanted to pause or downsell or cancel or whatever, we'd offer them, hey, you're getting all these leads in here. Your staff's already on it. You want to stick with us for $397 a month. You get to keep your website, you get to keep this, and you can keep going with us. So we ended up having a lot of clients who would do that as well too, as we're coming out, which was great for us because we already indoctrinated them on the system and they'd already, trusted us in one way or another. And if they needed to stop for whatever reason, maybe a provider was going out of town, maybe it was a holiday, maybe they're overbooked, whatever, they got an option to keep going, and we kept getting revenue, and we could also resell them in the future.
Yeah, I like this. When it comes to SaaS, what is the difference you're seeing on the fulfillment side of things on the back end with your team? Because traditional agency, Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube ads, all that, that's a whole different flavor versus SaaS as a back end fulfillment. Like, what are the differences? What are the pros and cons? Give us the good, bad, and the
Well,
ugly.
I mean, the SaaS when done correctly is infinitely easier to scale. And that's the thing that's super exciting about it, right? Like it really is, because managing Facebook alone, my gosh, if I pulled up my email right now and I just type Facebook ads rejected, you'll see like 50,000 of them, 10 a day, 2,100 a day, whatever. So it's significantly easier from that perspective. And then it really comes down to, how did you position it to your client? So we always positioned ourselves as the support team for the front desk. AI, booking bots, things like that really weren't quite where we wanted it to be yet. Now they are, or they can be. I've seen them where if you program and prompt those things correctly, they're pretty freaking good. So what we would do with our SaaS clients and with our regular clients, but really all we would do is we call them GHL sweeps. And so our customer service team once a week would, and this was usually from 8 to 12 on Friday, would go through and review, are they handling the leads properly? Are they following up? Are they calling the leads? What does everything look like, right? Because we held everything in our account. We didn't have a bunch of affiliates. We had them all underneath, our master account. And we could do these sweeps and we could send a quick Loom video over to each one of our clients. And that was basically our support for that side of things. And if they needed to jump on a call or if we needed to point something out, then we would make it known. We would congratulate them. So the GHL sweep sort of game changer for us.
That's interesting because that allows you to have an extra touch point. Your
Correct.
team is also very aware of the type of different clients
Yeah.
and avatars.
Well, what we found on this is I can look at someone's account, SaaS account, and a Go High Level account. And for us, it was a patient vortex. So if I say patient vortex at any point, just know that was that's our white label. That's our white label SaaS. And I can tell with about 90% confidence whether or not they're going to stick around, how well they're using it, right? And so that we realize that's a huge sticking point for us. So if they're not using it, we need to let them know. And we found an efficient way to let them know that. Also, if they're only paying $297 a month, I also want to put a ton of labor on them. So it's basically just a quick 5-minute look through, 5-minute Loom video, out the door, send it over to the client at the top end or whoever it was with the communication channel. And then from there, we actually got several front desks fired because of these types of things. Because when the doctors see like what actually takes place in their back account, we used to call it our kill count. It just really helped with, one, the extra touch point, but two, it gave us an idea of who was going to stick or not, because I became obsessed with churn. And after being in this game for 8 years, you really stop. You want new sales, but you become much more interested in lifetime value and long-term retention and new sales, because that's where the real money is made in this business.
Yeah. So Nick, I think it's important that I ask you these questions following, because I know you are a sales genius and I know you worked with massive organizations in the past. What does sales department outlook look like to you? And I'm asking with reference to the person that's starting off, right? Like a lot of people don't know when they should hire their first appointment setter or their first closer, or when they should turn on paid ads. Like they don't have the inbound volume before they just go jump in at a closer, like what is your outlook? And I think that could be the last thing we kind of close out on, is how to build a sales team around you.
Yes, 100%. I love this. So before you ever hire an appointment setter, you need to have leads for them to call. So the very first step, let me take a first step back. First, we need to find sales. One of the big things that I hear entrepreneurs struggle with all the time, and they'll come to me like, man, I just need to improve my sales. And I'm like, cool. What does that mean? And they don't know. So first we have to define what sales is, right? We've got prospecting, we've got lead gen, we've got appointments, we've got shown appointments, you've got conversion, you've got close, right? So we need to create data points based on however offers created. So that way we can create a solvable problem, because saying, hey, I just need more sales, it's like, well, where do I get started? Do I prospect more? Do I close better, et cetera? So I want to start there because I think that's a very useful frame for people to think through. Next, as far as the evolution, I am a huge believer in you learning how to sell. And when I say you, I mean the individual listening to this, the beginner, newer entrepreneur. It's very important in my opinion. One other quick side note caveat on that is, do not get discouraged if you're in the Go High Level group and you see people crushing it out the gates and you are struggling a little bit. You never know that individual's backstory. And my experience, after I've directly coached 500 plus agency owners and indirectly thousands, is that those who have a sales background tend to go further faster. It doesn't mean they go further in the long term, but they tend to move further faster. So those are just a couple quick notes there that I want to make sure is important. Now, in regards to the department, first, you need to be able to get something for an appointment setter to call. So you need to generate positive responses, right? So you need to choose your proper, appropriate prospecting channel. This is going to be based off the niche that you've chosen, whether, plumbers, HVAC, local business, whatever it might be, right? For it to make sense to have an appointment setter, you should have people for them to call. Setting up a cold call floor is difficult. I don't know. I would not recommend people start there. I would recommend prospecting through Facebook or LinkedIn or custom videos via email or cold email, things like that. And then once you have enough of those responses coming in, then you can start to look for an appointment setter, right? And that appointment setter is their job is to confirm appointments for you when they show up. I honestly wouldn't do this until you're booking 10 or more appointments a week, right? Until you actually get a setter in there. I think that you should do some groundwork, do some work ahead of time. The only caveats here is if you have a ton of extra capital and maybe you're working a 9-to-5 software type job, something like that.
Can we take a moment and talk about the
Yep.
mindset? Because like people think they can slap on an appointment setter and build their business. Like you need to like look at your calendar, and if there's not enough at bats, you're just making an excuse to offload the rejection that you're afraid of.
100%.
That's really what it comes like. It's not even about systems. It's about the mindset around the system first.
Yeah. Mindset is more important than everything, honestly. When it comes down to this, that I feel this way. I've been preaching this for a long time. But yes, I'm glad you made that point. And I think that right now, because I've noticed this as well, because of so many ads and so many people DMing you on Facebook and jamming it down your throat, done for you appointment setters, closers, all this stuff, just get rich, 100 appointments booked, blah, 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 right? Like we'll place them in here. I love some of the people who promote those programs and they're friends of mine and things like that, but everyone's doing it. People think, oh, I got to have an appointment setter to make this work. It's like, no, you need to have leads for an appointment setter to work. Then you have to learn. And if you can't manage yourself, right, to get leads, how are you going to manage an appointment setter? Are you going to have end of day reports? How are you going to coach this person? If you've never done any of this, how are you going to give them scripts? How are you going to do all these things? And there's this pie in the sky dream that people think they can just, hire away their problems. And that can be true much, much later on in business. It's almost never true at the ground floor when you're just getting started. You need to have some level of experience. So I'm glad you made a point on that, because you got to get good at it first. Go get the rejection, go get told no, and then you can bring someone in and teach them how to do it.
Yep. 100%. And I'm a big basketball guy, right? And I think about like your starting lineup. A lot of people think they can just bring in a superstar and they don't go through basic training. Like they don't do the regular dribbling, the shooting, all the ugly, unsexy stuff, which basically gets you to qualified leads. Like just because you have leads don't mean they're qualified. Like that alone, that problem alone is the problem that you need to solve to just get to 6 figures a month,
Yep.
right? If you have qualified leads versus just any leads in an inbound basis for your agency, like you've solved a huge, huge crack in the code that not that many agencies crack, right? And that's where you can look at and bring in a support team, an appointment setter team, a closer, and just really build on it. But to Nick's point, like if you can't sell your own Kool-Aid, nobody else going to sell it for you.
100%.
Yeah.
Get this right now in my new business. Guess who's doing appointment setting and texting for others before I hire someone in?
Probably you. Probably you. Yeah.
Because it's a new industry. It's a new market, right? Yes, I understand the frameworks. Yes, I have a head start, but I'm doing it. I'm doing a lot of stuff. I'm following things through from contracts. I'm playing transaction coordinator. I want to understand what these are before I hire out on things. I'm playing, offer creator, contract creator, deal evaluator, because I'm going to be building a team around these things. So it's super important. And on top of the basketball thing, man, right now, I'm reading this book right here.
Yeah.
What you're talking about, the boring work. Nobody embodies it better than him. You know what I'm saying? And it's true, right? Like it really is about just doing the boring stuff. People think there's some sexy, crazy answer to what goes on. It's like, nope, if you put a camera behind me every day, it's pretty freaking boring. There's nothing super magical that takes place. It's just me staring at a screen, thinking about better ways to communicate things or build things. You know what I mean? Like that's it.
Yeah. And when it comes to sales, like I love the book, Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. And the whole big premises of that book is like, a closer that's elite is not necessarily highly skilled versus the average closer. It's just that the elite closers have more at bats, right? So when you think about like Babe Ruth, he just had way more volume of at bats and he swung at more versus the average hitter. And that's really what sales comes down to. Most people, 90% of the agency crowd that I've seen over the last, I don't know now, 8 years, almost 7 years, do not do the work that it takes to actually earn a client. They don't follow up 12, 13 times. They're not relentless. They just give up after the first round of rejections. They're like, that guy and gal don't want my service, or my offer is not good enough. And I'm like, dude, there are agency owners that are running a 7-figure machine with the same offer in the same industry. Literally. That means offer is not the problem. It's you.
Bro, I have seen, I cannot tell you over the last few years how many snapshots, how many things I have seen that were significantly more complex and probably better than what we had built, honestly, but we were outselling them like crazy and had way more results and way more testimonials, right? And our lifetime retention was also bigger because we focus on other things, right? Because a lot of people, not that we don't want to learn the software and understand it, but don't mistake moving the needle activities for being busy. Because if you're continuing to try and optimize your snapshot, and you're not running people through your snapshot to get what's actually going to take place, then you're not doing it right, right? You want to go in with some level of understanding, don't get me wrong, but like spending 1,000 hours trying to optimize something and have nobody run through yet is not the way to go. Build something, run people through it, optimize from there.
Yeah, do not hide inside high level or behind high level because you're afraid of rejection. You don't need any more than just one feature to go out there. All 500-600 features are built around 20-30 different types of agencies. You don't need most of it, right? You just need 3 or 4 that make sense to move the revenue. And that's quite the trend that we've seen, where people hide behind automations and they're like, oh, I got to build this out, I got to build that out, this is not working, that's not working. And I'm like, when's the last time you had a sales call? When's the last time you had a prospecting campaign? And it's mind-boggling to think that they feel like building, having this big technology package, somehow the market's just going to respond like they're Apple. That's not happening.
What's fascinating about that, man, is pre-high level, I saw the same thing manifested in different ways. I need to get my website. I need to build this branding website out. I need to do this, right? All things that were pseudo working, but not actually going out there and moving the needle to get money coming in the door. If you want to make more money, you have to talk to people. You have to get in front of them. You have to have conversations with qualified leads. And most people also do underestimate the difficulty and what it actually takes to get to that point. But here's the thing. Everything's hard at first, guys. Everything. The good news is about life and being human, you can get way better at it right? In video games, they call it your APM, your actions per minute. I don't know. I'm sure I'll have some gamers listen to this, right? Like you can improve your APMs. You might be at 20 right now, but you can get up to 100, right? Kind of like typing. You start off slow, you get way faster. It's the same thing with sales, but reps, volume, adjust, optimize, iterate, and then keep going, man. Most people just don't simply do enough. Like, I mean, it's as silly as that sounds, like that's the truth.
Well, Nik, I appreciate you jumping in on a great podcast here. And you're still in Florida, if I remember correctly?
Boca Raton, man.
Okay, well, if those of you that are in the Florida area, I'm sure Nik runs a lot of events there, speaks in a lot of stages. Get into his groups and Discords and communities and all these different things. And I've personally been part of a lot of his groups for, I don't know now, maybe 7-8 years since you first initially started. You had groups, so I appreciate you doing all of that. But either way, Nik, any final words to all of our SaaSpreneurs or high levelers out there?
Yep. The last thing I'll say, and this is a concept that I've been thinking on, this goes about all the way back to our very beginning of our conversation, is this. When you have your health, you have a million hopes and dreams. And when you don't have your health, you only have one dream. So take care of your health, take care of your mind, your body, your energy, and your sleep. The biggest cheat code to entrepreneurship is someone who can think clearly, who is energized and is taking care of themselves. Guaranteed. Biggest cheat code by far. And it's something that I really want to pass along, because without that, if you don't have energy, if you're hungover all the time, if you're eating like crap, nothing else matters. Your productivity is going to suck. Your focus is going to suck, all of that stuff. So that's the biggest thing. Really take care of those things, guys. Cherish them, treasure them, because that is the biggest cheat code you can have.
Man, I appreciate that, because I know that's what matters more than anything else. Because you have to spend the time and effort with your family and friends. At the end of the day, life is way too short. Businesses come and go, but you as the operator, you have to take care of yourself to be able to manage all those businesses. But either way, those of you watching, in case if you don't have a high level account by any means, go grab a trial. We don't bite. We're one big family here, and hopefully we can impress you and bring you into the community and serve you. Nik, how can people find about your information, your links, and what's the recent thing you have?
Right now, best thing to do is go to Nik Robbins on YouTube. I'm about to start sharing. I've got a whole bunch of channel, ton of great agency content on there, guys. And also I'm about to start the next week or two. I don't know when this is going to be released, but releasing a whole new journey that, I'm on in regards to that side of things. So YouTube, Nik Robbins, NIKROBBINS. Add me on Facebook, shoot me a DM on Facebook too. Always on there, always happy to talk with everyone. And I love the agency world, and it's been very, it's changed my life. And I know that it can change yours too, if you go down the road and you dedicate yourself to it and commit and use amazing tools like what High Level is.
Well, thank you, Nik, and I appreciate you all watching another great episode of our High Level podcast called the Spotlight Sessions. Take care. Have a good rest of your day.